facilitating their backs to cut other teams apart. And Charlie Sharple's not fit enough for England, but fit for Gloucester. I'm sure that Brian Redpath is over the moon, because the firepower on show for Gloucester is second to none. And I would almost have this back three of Gloucester in an England shirt.
OK, well, the Kingsland has gone quiet, which can only mean the Cherry and White faithful are steeling themselves for kick-off, so we better head over to Nick and the girls in the commentary box.
Good evening, everyone. The concluding match on a day when we've been gorging ourselves on rugby. Super 15 on the other side of the world first thing this morning. The Six Nations this afternoon. This then the final act in the Aviva Premiership this evening. And if you've been in front of the box all day, a big pat on the back. You can open the curtains now, get some fresh air. What of the teams? Gloucester are forced into a bit of juggling in midfield. Eliota Fuimaana-Sapolu hurt his ankle holding a tackle bag this week. Mike Tyndall's invited to give it a go at inside centre with a fit again Henry Trinder alongside. Up front with Scott Lawson and Jim Hamilton at Murrayfield tomorrow. Darren Daviduke and Will James start. Half a dozen changes for Quins after the Worcester win. Carl Dixon's given a stretch ahead of Danny Kerr. Jordan Turner-Hall and George Lowe are reunited in midfield for the first time since November. And with Mike Brown at Twickenham, Ross Chisholm's fullback in the pack. Hooker Joe Gray returns. Thomas Vallejos steps up for the injured George Robson. And Tom Guest's over the flu to run out at 6.
And so tight in this aspect of the game. Johnson and Marler looked strong last week against the Warriors, who themselves got the upper hand on Saracens last night. But Gloucester have a real consistency in their unit. Wood will offer Johnson a true examination. The big Samoan will need to continue to hit and not just rely on his weight to let Marler attack Harden. Ollie Cohen and Will James are both from the similar moulds. Big men who make their weight felt both at the set piece and when they hit the rucks. Vallejos and Brown are the more athletic types. The Argentinian plays in the absence of Robson. He'll have to be at his best to keep his opposite number from deconstructing Quins. An area Quins should have an advantage is the back row. They really are blessed with enviable depth. There aren't many teams that could lose a player of Rob Shaw's importance and put a back row of this quality out and still have Luke Wallace on the bench. And Gira will provide Skinner real problems, hard-working Fijian who's been one of the best back rowers of the past 2 years, and Savage is equally adept at lock but will help Brown pile the pressure on Vallejos' line-out.
You talk about relieving pressure. Well, Burns and Evans are two of the most exciting 10s in the league. They'll be helped by the steady hands of Lawson and Dixon, who will look to control their forwards. In the centres, English talent galore. Tyndall and Turner-Hall provide the bulk, but it's Trinder and Lowe I want to see. Their pace and excitement on the outside break should be a real eye-catcher. And into the battle of the back threes. We've already mentioned Sharples, but what about Johnny May? A brilliant attacking force, as is Chisholm. Give them the ball, and we should see some tries.
It really was a test of both sides' concentrations during the warm-up to make sure that they were working on what they needed to be working on, rather than sneaking too many peeks at the big screen that was on here, showing events unfold at Twickenham. But I think they did it pretty well. Nick Easter might have been forgiven for thinking he perhaps ought to have been in southwest London today rather than the southwest of England. He skippers the side this evening in the absence of George Robson. And they're up against opponents they know well. 4 times now this season in the Premiership in Europe. Quins have won all 3 so far, including a big 28-9 win here in the Heineken. So they've been busy building history between the two since September. In the form of Nick Easter really has been noteworthy since he was left out of England's Six Nations squad. Gloucester really beginning to press the accelerator in recent weeks with European distractions now behind them. Harlequins are through to the Amlin Cup quarter-final. They'll be in Toulon early in April. But Gloucester are now concentrating simply on the Aviva Premiership. We saw their win here against Northampton, then a performance of real quality in difficult conditions in the mud in Bath. They won on foreign soil, the most foreigner soils at the Rec last weekend. This is the reception back home. And they have started to rebuild the King's home walls of late. They're on a run of 5 wins in a row here. since they lost to Leicester in November. And another will keep them not just in touch with a place in the Heineken next season, but also in touch with the playoffs. Dave Pearson in charge, didn't shirk the big decision this time in Paris a fortnight ago. Absolutely no problem with the pitch this evening. It's a beautiful evening.
Yep, got you right, cheers.
Late
Yep.
winter's evening. Not far from the Cotswolds, and all is set up for a match that promises much. Two teams who we are told fancy giving it a bit of a blast this evening. Two of the most entertaining sides in the Premiership. The omens are at least promising as Tom Williams gathers the kick-off. Carl Dixon wearing 9 this evening. Conor O'Shea keen to give him some running time. And what about this for a run from the fullback Ross Chisholm? Already taking Quins quickly up to halfway. Evans spins it wide to Marler, one of the quartet of Quins players who were involved in England detail earlier in the week at Pennyhill Park. Released to play this evening. This is George Lowe. So many people looking forward to seeing him play this evening, linking up again with Jordan Turner-Hall, but that bright start spoilt at least by the penalty, but early signs of encouragement.
Oh, yeah. If this is an indication of how Quins is going to play, we're in for a great night. Chisholm, brilliant little fade to the outside, step back through the hole. And the ball spins wide, but look at this little fade, little show. Sees Tyndall overcommit himself, just tucks in behind his back.
It's exactly the same pattern of play we've seen from Quins earlier on in the season against many sides. Some have watched them in and stopped it. But today Ngera got caught on the inside channel a little bit too wide.
The net result of it all, however, is a long-range penalty for Freddie Burns. The shed blew it on its way, all 46 metres towards and over the posts. Bright start for Harlequins, but the points are Gloucester's.
Good response. It's really important that the Gloucester players get together, make sure they focus on this kick-off. The last thing they need is Harlequins getting down into their 22 and getting a kickable penalty.
Evans dabs it forward. It was well taken by Tyndall, who is slightly having to readjust his sights again this evening. Use, of course, to playing in the 13 shirt. A little closer to the action tonight at 12. And this is Evans, taken on by Williams, who takes the tourist route. Taken out by Brown. This is Easter. Best number 8 in the Premiership at the moment, according to Conor O'Shea, and the worthy recipient of a new 3-year contract. Whether we'll see him play for England again is another matter, but he certainly has a stack still to offer for his club. Dixon, who was enjoying watching his brother at Twickenham today, right up to the point that Wales stole it at the last.
Lovely feet from George Lowe. Oh, he doesn't make the initial break. He puts the defender rocking back onto his heels. He doesn't know which way he's going to step. It becomes a negative tackle. Harlequins get all the momentum and win the penalty.
He does well. He gets to the outside channel, thinks about the wide ball, but he's blocked off by Will Skinner as a decoy runner. Does the intelligent thing. And then talk about intelligent play. Lawson keeps hold of the ball, so Quins can't go quickly in the resulting penalty.
George Lowe made a very favourable impression in his first Premiership start since November and the ankle injury against Worcester. And it is good to see him and Turner Hall reunited line-up.
One of the most difficult places for a hooker to throw, right in front of the King's Home shed. Does a really good job to hit Easter, who's a fantastic line-out forward.
Harlequins line-out has been fantastic this season. Few have been better, as opposed to Gloucester's, which has been a real mess, and that ball was only marginally forward.
Hands went forward.
really unlucky. Turner Hall doing fantastically well to get his hands free through the contact.
Come and put inside, lads.
Which takes out the whole of the Gloucester line. And George Lowe, if he was a step further behind, he would have run onto that at full tilt. Had Ugo Monya on his shoulder.
Either side of it, lads, so we've got no chance going
Competition in
head on
Harlequins midfield at the moment. These were the first choice last season, but
Let's go,
you've seen Matt Hopper emerge as a real talent this season. He's on the bench today. Got a guy called Charlie Walker as well, who was playing in England's under-20 midfield on Friday night, a big win against Wales, 49 if you're English and looking for a bit of a cheer-up. Charlie Walker earning rave reviews for the under-20s, so
touch.
a bit like Gloucester, there are lots and lots of options, and young English options in midfield at the moment. Now, what about the scrum?
Bit of a lazy hit there from Johnson.
Stand too close to the lads, see that.
Dropped in far too easily. It's always difficult on the first scrum piece, and sympathetic to that.
Push it through.
Another big night for Nick Wood, man of against Bath. He's up against James Johnston this evening. Weighty Samoan, steadier at scrums.
Elbow.
Johnson, I think, penalised for binding on the elbow instead of onto the back. I've seen Wood struggling to get a grip. Both of them giving away a lot of penalties, particularly at the scrum.
Austin. Just looking back at that George Lowe forward pass, guys, I think he's actually a decoy. I think the ball's meant to go round the back to Ugo Monya there, but he's in such a big hole, and Jordan Turner Hall takes it too far to the tackle line. It means he has to use him. Likewise, if you're going to be a decoy runner, hold your depth so you are a decoy runner and not just someone who's running through a move.
One back.
Good shift drive from the Cherry and Whites. Caught at the front, palm down to Brown, and the whole of the Quins' defence was taken out on the initial jumper. They can set up a good drive.
Tom Savage was at the centre of that drive. And blindside playing again this evening. Burns swings it wide to Trinder. And Gloucester giving it a real go here. Sharples was sprinting onto it, and the defence needed to be solid, and it was. Turner Hall clearing away some invaders over the ball to make life a little more comfortable for Dixon and the clearing kick.
Quins, careful!
Easter as well. And Trinder is doing some burrowing again. Eventually cleared away by the Quins scrum half this evening, Dixon. But Gloucester will come back at them quickly. This is Simpson Daniel on one of those lovely, wriggly, sinewy runs of his. Takes them to within 10-11 metres of the try line. This is May. Ball goes beyond Savage to Burns. He's tackled on the 22. And there were Harlequins players off their feet. Another Gloucester penalty.
The penalties against Vallejos. Simpson Daniel picks out Vallejos, knows he's quicker. He's running against forwards there. Lethal combination. Vallejos gets his hands on the ball. He's such a tall man. It's not just good enough to stay on your feet, you've got to be supporting all your own body weight.
He drops the ball back inside there to Tyndall. Tyndall's walking through. There's acres of space on the inside. Run a really intelligent dummy line there.
It's one of those players, Austin, though, who runs with the ball very often in both hands. And it was something that he learnt at school in Middlesbrough as a youngster. Apparently the rugby teacher used to make them run around the pitch whenever they ran around with the ball in just one hand, and he reaps the rewards later in his professional career. Attacking line out, won by Brown. What's the Quins defence like? Ollie Cohen's at the centre of it. Ball's been taken to ground. Lawson waits. And again, it's Scottish studs that release the ball. Burns gives it some flight. Here goes Simpson Daniel again. Ball in both hands out to Sharples. Lovely try. And another Cherry and White score at the start of this game.
Simpson Daniel on fire. Fantastic play to create the space for the rest of his speedsters on the outside. As he takes the ball, watch his angle. He runs away from the ball, uses the flight of the ball to get outside. And then a little show and go on the inside. Drifting away, he knows he's got the pace if he can get the outside. He commits Ugo Monye in onto him. A simple walk in for Sharples.
Release from England duty earlier this week. Suffered a dead leg in training on Monday. But it gave him time to recover. And Gloucester are the grateful recipients this evening. About to start from James Simpson-Daniel, though. And the second early kick for Burns to contemplate. He's had a good week this week. What with steering Gloucester to victory at his boyhood club last Saturday, and the week gets better and better.
Just all action from Simpson-Daniel. He's committing people, wrong-footing them all the time with his footwork. Sharples knows exactly who made that try for him.
Not back, play on. Inside, lads, always inside. Stay on. Don't go forward, wait!
The ball bounces awkwardly, but Evans bided his time and took it well, and thought there was a hole that there was temporarily, but it was closed. Dixon. And into his opposite number, Lawson. A meeting of chunky mind and body. Ugo Monye taken on by Joe Gray. Dixon to Evans to Turner Hall. This is Chisholm, who comes into the line whenever he's invited to. George Lowe has had a busy start as well. As much as Gloucester have got the first 10 points in this match,
8 away!
Harlequins haven't been standing back either. Turner Hall to Easter. This is Monye, runs into Simpson-Daniel. Actually tackled by Trinder. Evans behind the on-rushing forwards. Low. Here goes Tom Guest. Suffering from man flu last week, but he's out of his bed now. And he's part of a move that has contained the most Harlequins phases in the match so far. They've started to find their own fluency early on as well. And this is a hearty response to shipping some early points. Dixon again, Evans looking for the options, and again he goes through. He was looking for support that wasn't quite there, but lays it back quickly for Dixon to reignite the move. And then Akapusi Angera was on hand, and it's going to be a penalty.
Didn't have the ball.
I don't think that Angera, as he made the tackle, was tackling the player with the ball.
Well, he just read it a bit too well. Angera. Here's the little half break from Evans. And there are holes opening up for Harlequins. They're a little bit slow to the breakdown. Gloucester beating them occasionally. You can see Angera saw that Ollie Cohen was coming.
Austin.
Guys, the accuracy all round is immense, and when Gloucester play like this, they are so hard to stop. The width of the passing from both sides really is such a threat. Defensively, you can't get in position and make easy one-on-one tackles. And we're seeing that from both teams. It's one of the best starts to a game I've seen all season.
Evans slides the ball between the posts. And he moves 3 points closer to 1,000 in that shirt. He's up to 991 now. Harlequins have their reward for what has been a full part at the start of this entertaining game. Restart well won by Vallejos.
As he didn't get his lift behind. Just kept his eyes on the ball, let it drop into his breadbasket.
Oh, this is Easter on the charge again. He's got Guest up in support. I think you're right, Austin. It's hard to remember a game that has started so promisingly this season. We've had a busy day's rugby. One or two might have had their fill, but this is going to be worth hanging around for. This might be one of the games of the day.
I'm over here, Dave.
Well, this is what I was just talking about. Easter makes a fantastic break. You can see just reaching back through them all. He was in the ruck, hands away, but it's now everyone's looking to run an offload line, which means they're slower than Gloucester to compete at the breakdown. The turnover's already been made. Harlequins have just got to be a bit sharper when the ball goes to ground at committing support players to it.
Let's go, lads.
Pat on the head from his mate Nick Wood. It's one of those perennial questions about Nick Wood, why he hasn't won England caps. He and Matt Mullen have been vying for the Saxon shirt of late, but I think he is really frustrated that Graham Rowntree doesn't think he's ready to play in games like the one this afternoon at Twickenham.
Pause.
Fortunately for him, there's an awful lot of good English looseheads at the moment, and they're all young. Look at Marler as well. The other side of this scrum. It's going to become an extremely difficult decision for Graham Rowntree soon.
There's a view amongst lots of Premiership type heads, both past and present, that whenever they come up against Nick Wood, though, he's very often the man who gives them most problems.
Oh, he's undoubtedly a great scrummager. He still gives away quite a lot of penalties, which I think probably does count against you at test level. But if he was wearing a white shirt, I don't think there'd be too many worries going into the game about England scrummaging. Though he does, typical, get turned inwards by James Johnson.
Just rolled in. He went up the top. Well, one just rolled in.
Well, Johnson had a decent workout with Matt Mullen last Saturday evening, and he's having a look at Wood this evening.
I think he had a poor start to the season, Johnson, particularly that sort of period just after the World Cup. But recently, he's been absolutely fantastic. And he's been hitting. I think that's the difference. There was a time where if you knocked him off the ball, if you knocked him off that initial hit, knocked him off balance, you could really get the upper hand on him. But with his weight, when he takes the initiative, very difficult for the loosehead.
James Simpson-Daniel, who has had such an integral part in this match, 250 above the crest on the left to signify his 250th game for the club. It's hard to imagine him starting one of the previous 249 being any more impressive. It's been stolen by Brown. It was given lots of air, and it gave Brown time to get up and snatch it out. Hammered away by Tyndall. Chisholm feeds Williams. Impressed us last Saturday against Worcester. Now this is Dixon doing what his brother does so well for the Saints and now England. Here goes Monye, tipped up by Sharples.
Vantage, entry 12.
Tyndall just coming in from the side, not directly over the ball. It's a free shot for Harlequins.
Penalty advantage, lads. 12 side entry.
Easter. That's interesting. It worked for him. And it's... why weren't they allowed to continue with that?
Here we are.
Seemed to be knocked off a Gloucester hand, but we're going to come back for the penalty nonetheless.
Just great ambition. Nick Easter knows it's a freebie. He knows he can do that and get away with it if he spoons it into the shed. The 33-year-old agreed a new contract recently that'll keep him at the club until he's very nearly 37. But Conor O'Shea is the president of his fan club at the moment. I suspect when he is nearly 37, he won't be charging around in the back row like he is at the moment. The coaches have big plans for him to move up into the second row before too long. By the way, eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that Bath have scored early on at Sandy Park. They kicked off at the same time as us. Tom Biggs, who is in a rich vein of form at the moment, has the visitors ahead against Exeter. He got 14 points against Worcester last Saturday night to squeeze Quins home against the visitors that night. He is entirely responsible for all of their efforts so far this evening here at Kingsholm.
Hands off, Red!
Williams.
You're on the floor!
Evans, this is Chisholm, who never fails to impress whenever he steps in for Mike Brown. 21-year-old. He's been scoring some tries when he has been playing as well. He is a real threat from fullback. Dixon quickly away again to Evans. This is Marler, who ran into a bold Gloucester reception committee. Two of the bouncers at the clubs not far from here will look a little bit like the two who welcomed Marler into their gang a few seconds ago. We've had a quarter of the match already. It's absolutely flown by.
It's great ambition. Important line out. This one for Harlequins. Brown's just starting to
Take the line, Reds, please.
cause a bit of havoc in there, particularly with Savage. Will James. He's got a lot of height, a lot of good jumpers.
You had the first chance
Let's
to
have another
roll
look
out
at one of the more efficient line-outs
Your space.
in the country at the moment.
Red 4, step down, please.
Brian Brooker swapped the throwing-in duties on a match-by-match basis. It's Grace's turn tonight.
Over 15.
Well, that doesn't happen very often. But
Ball's off
Alex
the floor.
Brown, who's been missing for much of the season when Gloucester's line-out was misfiring, is back, and you can see the difference he makes. This is Tyndall, runs into Evans. Turner Hall was on hand as well. And Tyndall still going. Tackled on the 10-metre line, very nearly up to halfway. Burns, taken on by Savage.
Rock.
This is Wood. Burns again. Clips the ball away from the attempted charge down from Skinner. But it's gone a bounce or two
22.
too far. As a young lad, he used to serve the chips out of the chippy van at the Rec. I was reading this week. I understand why winning there and playing so well a week ago meant so much to him. Evans goes long. Lawson will restart the Cherry and Whites from halfway. This is May, the fullback. Will be busy between now and the end of the season. With the injury to Ollie Morgan, his knee will keep him out, and from that thrust, Gloucester will have a penalty. And I think Dave Pearson wants to issue a little bit of a lecture to Nick Easter and also Tyndall. I wonder what's on the referee's mind. Let's find out.
I'm trying to let it go. There's a game trying to break out. We're just giving daft penalties away at the breakdown. And it ain't going to happen all night, is it? All right? Have a word with them, thanks. Cheers, Nigel. Time on. Not releasing. Shot. 15. Yeah. Nigel.
Decision is to go for
Yeah, mate.
On two occasions,
posts.
the Red players have been in front of the
Gloucester
kicker.
in the middle of a sequence of
Directly for the ball.
four
No impact.
critical games.
Yep.
Saints and Bath already. This one and Leicester next week. Two wins so far have given them enormous confidence, and you can see them playing with that confidence this evening. Burns stepping up to try and make the Harlequins pay the full penalty once again. He seemed to strike it well enough, but direction not quite there. And it remains just a point gap for Brian Redpath's men.
Evans comes a long way over for this dropout, just so he can punch it high into there, get a lot more hang time on it for his forwards to chase in.
He seemed again to slap it towards halfway, even with some of the quickest men in the country on the pitch. They're going to find it hard to run to halfway from their own 22 in 3 or 4 seconds it was up in the air. Lawson. And again, used as the link man, and then there again to clear the ball over the top at the ruck that had formed. This is Johnny May. Played only a dozen times at full-back down the years, but it's that kind of quality that has him buzzing. What a score that is from Johnny May. They've scored some absolute peaches over the course of this season, but that was one of the shiniest. What a score, Johnny May.
We saw his pace. The man he ran around at the end was Nick Evans. He was one of the quickest in the world. Just the step off twice, 3 times, and a show of the feet. Great right-handed fend, and then just backs his pace against the speedster Evans. Look at his fend right into the join of the shoulder and the neck, where no one can recover if you time it right.
He was standing next to us, Austin, applauding that.
Well, I think it's the best individual try we've seen all season. Simple.
He scored a few of them. 7 in 8 now. And the reasons why were clear for all to see. Well, if ever a score deserved to be a 7-point score, that was it, but Mays remains at 5. And I guess it's the extra room perhaps you get running in from fullback that suits Johnny May. Often used as a winger, but it doesn't matter how good the defence is, it's almost impossible to defend against that. That was exquisite. Tyndall has done some hard work at those restarts.
He didn't get that one. That was magnificent by Monye. Great competition from both parties.
And Quins immediately with the opportunity to strike back. They've got some numbers here. Easter to Evans. Slow down a little bit. Dixon thought about having another little chug down that narrower blind side. Gray takes it into contact. Dixon again gives it air. Shed now urging on the Gloucester defence. Guest takes it within 5 metres. Dixon draws it to within 2.5. Guest's there again. He needed to be held up by Wood. But once again, Harlequins' response to a Gloucester score is spirited.
Ball's out.
Dixon to Evans.
Standing really flat. Looked like Harlequins might have had some numbers on the outside there. The line speed of Gloucester takes Evans, forces him back inside.
Stay on.
George Lowe is there again. This is Ollie Cohen. Now Dixon's back on his feet. Taken on by Gray, but there's no way through. Here goes Marler. They're keeping it short and muscular for the time being. Hugo Monye is showing some interest on the opposite side of the pitch from where our concentration is currently focusing. Will Skinner's standing out as well, but they've conceded the penalty.
Yeah, Savage got his hands on the ball. Man on the floor didn't let go.
Isolated, man on his feet, all rights to the ball, holding on.
Well, he's a man who's really impressed the forwards coach Carl Hogg over the last few weeks.
Time out, Brian.
Thrilled with the way the youngster has plugged some of the holes in the back row after recovering from a knee injury.
That big hole.
They've had more than their fair share of problems in that area at 6, 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Narroway and Hazel's still injured, but well, and people like Savage are coming through the way they are.
The breakdown's just starting to become a bit of a problem for Harlequins. Let's see, good play by Harden, just lying there a second longer than perhaps he needed to, so the Harlequin support players had to run round him.
No blood.
Allowed that man the opportunity to latch onto the ball. Secures a really important turnover. If I was Conor O'Shea, that'd be what I'd be trying to get the message onto the players. You can't all be looking to carry the ball.
Yeah.
Bit of diary making for you. Newcastle against Harlequins next Friday at Kingston Park. What a big game that is for Falcons. Maybe 2 for the Quins after this. Saracens against Saints on the Sunday at the Vicarage.
No number on it. Yeah.
Oh, Joe Gray.
Yeah, 9's on as well. You happy to go?
Is off.
Yeah.
And Rory Lawson has had his day as well. He's being replaced by Dave Lewis. So a couple of injuries to get our head around. Lawson is limping away. Chris Brooker has come on for Gray. We'll get Sarah to do some digging down on the touchline to find out exactly what's wrong with those two. And here is the new scrum half, Lewis.
Right, yeah, you're on now.
Did well, in a little bit of a maze, but found the exit eventually. Here goes Chisholm to Monya, who evades the tackle that was up very quickly from Trinder. Evans. Kern was offering himself, but instead it's taken on by his second-row partner Vallejos, and then Simpson Daniel with the hit that dislodged the ball.
Knocked forward, blue first.
And the ball
First
came off
defence was knocked forward by blue.
a Harlequin
First
first.
defence. Then there was a red one. Scrum. Red.
Yeah, Vallejos does really well to pluck that out the air, carry the momentum forward, and just
Watch that bind.
closing
and what
defence
that
from the
shows.
outside in his blind spot
Please.
for Brooker.
You've got no number on, so you're not helpful.
Rory Lawson, we're hearing, has a
Where you go?
groin
Go
injury.
cross.
How you going? Oh, second.
Crouch.
And, all we can tell you about Joe Gray is that he's got ice on his leg.
Touch. Pause. Engage.
Either way, 2 changes neither side
Get it
has
away.
wanted to make at this stage of the match. Early stages. Simpson Daniel to Burns, and this is Henry Trinder over the ankle injury and releasing May, and this is Sharples who induced a hint of a high tackle from Monya, certainly as far as the shed were concerned, not surprisingly. Even necessarily the most neutral of observers.
Time out.
But they may well have been right, because
Sisters report.
Dave Pearson is going to have a word with Andrew Watson on the far side.
We're going to go
It
talk
might
to
be
him.
a step inside and just follow through by Monya with the high shot. It's just
All
caused
yours, I
a
haven't
couple
seen
of
it.
times Gloucester have stepped inside, got a bit of space. It's just that natural reaction to throw the arm out.
Yeah, just a high tackle.
It's just a penalty.
Just a penalty.
And where are we? Down here.
Yes, it's it.
Yeah.
It's a reaction thing.
Yeah. Careful, lawyer. Last one.
A spot on decision despite protests from behind him in the shed. Really good
Let him get there.
teamwork by the officials.
Thanks.
It's an excellent step, puts the brakes on. Monya reacts by throwing an arm out, not 100% sure where it's going to land.
Davidju with the attacking line-up.
Ball's moved.
And again by Brown, who's excelling in the line-up.
Yeah, Harlequins committed to the defence there and left a big hole so that when Brown came down, they could very, very easily set up the drive. They're in a really good position with the ball at the back. David up there. Just need to try and break that bind and get men in front of the ball. That's the first one. They're only allowed one more attempt to get the ball going. Excellent work rate. It's the men in the front that will create this.
Yes. Off it now. Stay on that, Andy.
There goes Harden. Lewis, the replacement. Tyndall, and Sharples came on at pace.
Hey.
He was just a little bit too quick.
Knock on.
It's a great angle by Sharples. Tyndall just behind the back, and He took his eyes off the ball just to see if there was a little hole for him to run into.
If you were up with play, it might have been a better call.
By the way, if you're following the extra Bath game with us, you might have heard us a little earlier say that Bath had taken a 5-0 lead. Misinformation from Sandy Park. Tom Biggs' try was disallowed, so if you've got a scoreless draw on your pools coupon, you still might be on for a win this evening.
Touch. Pause. Engage.
Some pressure on that Queen's front row. Have another opportunity, but Joe Marler's face is full of concern and then a little bit
Stay
of
down, stay
Well,
flat.
the Gloucester
Go
front
for it,
row
on the
just
mark.
popped it up and appealed to the referee. It's almost a
Well, where we go? What's this?
preconceived plan.
You that side.
You're only
You
going to
that
get a
side of
penalty
it.
if it pops up and you're going forward.
Let's not go
Both teams
dancing over this.
stationary.
And some injury to Joe Gray. Who I think had a little bit of a hamstring problem last weekend, which was the reason he pulled out late in the match against Worcester. They thought he was fitted. Seems he isn't quite yet. And the penalty in the front row goes against Marler and his mates.
It's the same penalty,
Green
binding
blue
on the arm
arm.
for Johnson. He got caught a couple of times with that last week as well. It's difficult with the tight shirts to get a proper bind on the back. But if you bind on the arm and then it folds inward, it looks like you're arm wrestling the man down to the ground. See, he misses on the back. And then his hand comes on the rear of Wood's arm. And Wood folds in. It looks like he's been tipped on his back by James Johnson.
As a result of a little bit of dominance in the front row, Freddie Burns chips in with another 3 points. 18-6. Over 5 minutes to go to the break. So it was interesting to hear Brian Redpath talking in terms of European qualification at the beginning of the programme with Sarah, finishing in the top 6, but sure they haven't ruled out top 4 yet and playoffs. It's certainly what the supporters are talking about.
Play on, no problem.
Well, Brown was barged out of the way, he thought, as he set himself up to gather the restart, but Dave Pearson thought otherwise.
Hooker
There
step.
was no harm done for Gloucester. They still have
White
possession.
boots, take a step. White boots. Thank you. Still, lads.
Dave Lewis, young Devonian, called into action early on here. Cleared away by Johnny May, who just might have scored the try of the season. In fact, it was Freddie Burns who cleared it away.
It's just starting
You
to
give me an easy
look comfortable
target
for
from
Gloucester,
where
isn't
you're
it? They're relaxing into this game now. They're winning the good line-out ball. The scrums are going well. The attack at the breakdown.
15, yeah.
They're winning the foot race there.
Brown. So looking dangerous at the back of the lineup, so Quins wisely went to the front. And Skinner secures possession for them. Dixon to Evans. Bypasses Jordan Turner-Hall to find Lowe instead. This is Chisholm. Quickly to Monia.
Release tackler.
Good ground off that latest thrust forward. This one might be a little bit more
Release it.
straightforward with Easter. Guest steps out of the challenge of
You've got
Tyndall, but
12.
the former England skipper managed to hang on to him. This is Vallejos.
Don't
Brought to the
interfere.
floor by Harden.
Rock.
Evans again. And Guerra and Marler colliding in midfield without the ball. This is Monia, slips away from the tackle of Trinder.
Balls
And
off
that's the
floor.
Gloucester 22.
Hands off.
Placed back by Brooker. gone loose and it needed to be tidied by Lowe. Back in the fray again after the ankle injury back in November. Dixon to Monya.
Good work rate by Monya. Peering all over the field. Excellent leg drive.
Lost red.
As well, adding his tuppence worth. Evans chips it through. This will be a try for Chisholm. And Harlequins on the brink of half-time are right back in this ball game.
Brilliant decision-making from Evans, and he matches it with the skill to match. Knew the Gloucester line speed was going to be big, and he just drops it on his toe, nudges it through the hole. By the speed of Chisholm and Tom Williams on the outside, I would have said he'd pre-called that. No sweeper in behind. Perfect execution.
Chisholm's now scored 4 tries in the last 4 games. Some of them spectacular, not necessarily that one, but it's important. And Trinder, as you can see for yourself, is going to spend the bulk of the half-time interval being patched up. Evans adds the conversion, and as well as Gloucester have played and as well worked as their tries have been, Conor O'Shea's side still very much in this one.
It's lovely technique from Evans. Steps slightly to the outside just to create the bit of room. Keeps his eye on the hole that he wants to nudge the ball through.
Dixon was the first Harlequin underneath it, and they are giving it a real go this evening. And they did promise that they'd give it a blast from all areas, and whenever possible, whenever it's been sensible, that's what they've done.
Well held up by Tyndall. There's no way that's coming out of there. And again, look at the numbers that Gloucester have got into that breakdown. 5 players. As soon as the more was called, they added extra numbers. Harlequins, maybe 3 in there. It's up a knot for his troubles.
He's a brave old soldier, isn't he? He's been in the bruise zone this evening. And he's been likely to pick up a knot. That's where he's been. Restarts, gathering them in, making tackles, winning turnovers.
For Harlequins, this scrum's all about not giving away a penalty.
Pause, engage.
And getting out and doing the defensive role.
Half time, lads.
Look at that. They're going to give away a penalty.
And this is becoming a big, big issue.
You go down, you score a great try. You've got to switch on. Not come back and concede straight away.
Looking at the way Mike Tyndall is limping around, I think the odds on him returning at the start of the second half must be fairly lengthy at the moment. They've got Ryan Mills on the bench, Tom Voice as well. Mills, the England under-20 centre, he might well be the option. They'll try and patch Tyndall up. Meantime, the Shed, nursing beers, holding out hope for Burns. Kick completes a very, very satisfactory first half for the home team. They've seen the quality that Quins can offer as well, what with Ross Chisholm's try. But that was good fun, Oz.
Certainly was. The thing that impressed me the most was the precision. Wide passing from both sides, and yet people running onto the ball. Really exciting first half. Can't wait for the second.
Yeah, the first 40 were very watchable. Johnny May's try was outstanding. We saw one. He's back on the pitch. Henry Trinder's been stitched and patched up, so Ryan Mills has headed back to the hutch.
He's right there. Why would you want to leave Gloucester and go to Perpignan? What attraction would there be of going to the south of France?
Gloucester, great shopping centre down the road.
A lot of places I like in England, but not with beaches.
Reds.
So switching on, Leicester beat Newcastle 42-15 to move third in the Aviva Premiership a little earlier this afternoon. 6-0 at Sandy Park at half-time. But this is shaping up to be the game of the day, and how about that?
Always inside.
Goodness me, Alex Brown has really stood out this evening, particularly high in the air above Kingsholm.
Hold. Within. Yeah.
Harlequins not hanging around. Williams quickly to Evans. Williams offering himself again. Nick Easter was easing his way through. Dave Pearson, our referee, was satisfied that there's nothing illegal about that. Evans using Turner Hall.
Keep rolling.
Harlequins starting this half with much more people behind the ball, so when someone goes to the ground they can clear out quickly, get this quick ball that's put them in a good position.
In touch.
Finding the man with no number who came on early on in the first half, Chris Brooker. The replacements for Joe Gray, who we think might have suffered a recurrence of a hamstring problem.
Take the line, lads, please.
Hearing, by the way, that Henry Trinder has got 8 stitches somewhere in that fairly well manicured bonds of his. He come from an ankle injury to take his place this evening in a reshaped midfield. He's outside Mike Tyndall, who, despite the fact that he was limping heavily at the end of the first half, is at least on at the start of the second.
Well fielded by Monye. Puts his left foot into touch as he catches the ball, so regardless of where the ball bounces, it counts as out on the full.
The one whose contract runs out at the end of the season, another big name here who might not be here next year. The young boys, the boys brigade, certainly will be given their head if they lose the likes of Narroway and Tyndall. This is Marler, who is part of the Quins boys brigade. Dixon to the replacement hooker, Brooker. One of England's preparations this week at Pennyhill Park. He trained on Monday as they're covering for an injury to Lee Mears.
Mark that, Nigel.
Oh, that was beautifully done by Easter, and this is Williams, who is beginning to enjoy his rugby again like he did when he was really fizzing not so long ago, before all those shenanigans. But this is fabulous stuff again from Chisholm. The fullbacks this evening, Johnny May and Ross Chisholm, are both providing real threats, running onto the ball.
Leos has carried well as well. Forward starting to get more into the game, but it's that numbers behind the ball that's improved Harlequins' play.
Turner Hall held up by Will James.
Balls off the floor, he's first man. Leave it now, don't go in.
Hall back in the Premiership for the first time since early January. Released by England this week. This is Monye. As you mentioned early on, Ben is really putting in a shift this evening, getting involved in midfield. He's still there, offering options for Dixon, but Dixon instead went for Guest, who is shuffled back by Dave Lewis. James was there as well to lend his weight. Patient stuff from the visitors. Cohen loses the ball forward, and eventually the patience leading to not much.
Right, up until that, it was excellent control from Harlequins. There's the turnover. Savage doing really well to sneak his arms in. Harley Cohen. The point I was making about having players behind the ball, the reason that's good is they can still step out and support the offload and still catch the offload. But in the first half, Harlequins were just running people either side, and you couldn't clear out. You can't recover to clear out if you do that.
Austin, you've been looking at how Chisholm scored that try before half-time.
Well, that was the sign of things to come. Hugo Monye are carrying the ball really well, and we've seen it in the start of the half as well. What happens here, though, is if we look closely in the breakdown, we see Lewis decides to compete instead of stay out as a 9. Difficult decision to make. He almost turns the ball over, but because he's in that breakdown, there's no sweeper back behind. You take your 9 out of the equation. If no one spots it, it's almost a try every time. And we've seen Quins play exactly the same power game around the fringes, not quite as wide in this half, but still making inroads with their offloading game. It's almost like Conor O'Shea at half-time has said, right, let's tighten it up and take it through the middle, because that's a real strength of Quins. They're not just a wide game team.
Time on. Touch judge, lads.
Chisholm was the beneficiary. Monya's been patched up.
Space for a hit.
And here's an area that was beginning to go Gloucester's way at the end of the first half. Harden and Davidjuk and Wood.
Touch.
Marler trying to stem the flow for Quins. And a very long bind. Marler on Rupert Harden and drove him up.
Far side.
Great scrum from Marler. As you said,
Backwards,
perfect
still
bind.
up, number 3 red.
Immensely strong in the shoulder region, Marler. It's a great shot of the hit, and he keeps his look. He gets his head under the sternum and just pops that neck and gets in between Harden and his hooker. Excellent technique and lovely pork chops on the side of his face.
Got those pork chops under the sizable frame of Rupert Harden. He's a terrific tight head, but he's tall, Ben. He's 6'2", 6'3", which can create some problems sometimes.
Yeah, it can. But it's Marler's, it's that strength. So he hit on the outside, and then he's just got that strength to rotate inside, almost lift Harden up towards his hooker, and then follow through the hole he's created.
Evans teasing the shed and going up to 999 Premiership points. More importantly this evening, first score of the second half here at King's Home.
Talked about Marler as well, but don't forget the role James Johnson had. He was struggling towards the end of the first half. Much better hit from him. The referee on his side would have been paying close attention to Johnson.
Taken in by Guest. We've seen him this season. He was confined to barracks by good old man flu last weekend. Here goes Simpson, Daniel. We've already seen what he can do at the start of this match. Back to his gliding best to set up the try for Charlie Sharples. Freddie Burns. This is Tyndall. Tackle was made by Turner Hall. Skinner was there as well, and then it was beautifully picked up by Easter. And Evans, off the back of that Easter steal, trying to create something via Williams for Quins. And hanging on to the ball, and it's been taken back by Darren Davidjuk, and they will have the penalty as well.
Two good turnovers in that passage of play. Almost Gloucester have done what Harlequins were doing the first half. Don't get enough numbers in there. Easter has a free rein. Wood doesn't get there quickly enough to clear him out. Excellent technique. Picks up, stays low, sees Wood coming, has a little look. He's expecting the contact. He just judges he's got enough time to lift the ball. So often we see players bridge over the ball and try and win the penalty, but when it's there, you've just got to lift it up.
Austin.
Yeah, guys, if we have a look back at that play there, we see Mike Tyndall in the outside channel. If we just see what happens when he gets the ball, he just tucks it underneath one arm. As you can see, it gets in his inside arm. He can't make the pass. If we play it on, just look at the outside channel. There's May there, there's Trinder, there's Fast, there's pace outside them on a 4-on-1 situation. And once that ball goes under one arm, as a defensive player, you know full well you can stop the attack.
One of the reasons perhaps why he's not often used at inside centre. There today because of the injury to Eliota Fuima-Onusapolu in training. And Burns very quickly and very impressively has cancelled out Nick Evans' earlier penalty. That was straight and true and hit with real confidence. And Gloucester's 8-point lead restored.
Monya looks like he's set to chase up the middle again. Brown's been excellent in this department.
Well, they might profit from it. Hang on, they've got numbers over here. This could be a real response. Marler all out of the back to Vallejos. Vallejos back inside, and the ball right up to that final pass, looked destined for the try line. They've taken it again quickly. Jordan Turner-Hall, they've got to score.
The whistle's gone.
Oh, the whistle has gone, which ends them and me.
A real commentator's curse on Brown. Sorry for that, Alex.
Time out, Brian.
But it's the pressure of Monya. He was so good in the air.
You get a sense here, Ben, that Marler just holds on to the ball a little bit too long. It's a wonderful offload by Johnson, but Marler now give it. He tries to beat one extra person and smart, flick it out the back. If he gives it before that tackle, it's a walk in at the corner. But what I like is the fact that Quins are so good at just pulling the ball to the outside channel. Doesn't matter whether you're a Johnson, a tight head prop, whether you're a Marler. They just distribute the ball. We saw it last week, actually. Marler with wonderful, easy hands. Same there. It's a try.
Might Joe Marler say that he was trying to commit the defender before he made that pass?
The defender was already committed because his shoulders were turned in. Once you're turned in as a defender, you're out the game. Let the ball do the work.
It's a good contest, that scrum. Lost to get it out in time, and Simpson-Daniel.
Well, he is marking his 250th match in the colours, with one of his more eye-catching performances in a while. James delicately out to eventually find May, and then Sharples will chase his own kick. Chisholm was covering back. The ball into touch. Chisholm takes it quickly, and Williams has got some space to run into. Not got too many mates around him, so he goes back to Chisholm, who launches his own attack.
George Lowe did a really good job. A little block just to create a bit of extra room for Chisholm there.
Here goes Evans. This is Williams.
Take the release!
This is where Quins are dangerous, when they start to offload around the breakdown.
Monya. Need the break, but then get the ball away. This is Burns. The shed suggesting there might be more here. Simpson-Daniel to Akapusi-Ongera. This is May. Back to Tyndall. Support needs to be there quickly, driving over the ball. Ollie Cohen thought about having a little peek himself, but the ball was knocked on.
Tom Guest did a remarkable job at the breakdown there. This pass from Simpson-Daniel is absolutely on the money. Gives them a chance in the outside channel. Tyndall picks an excellent midfield line, but watch Guest over the ball. He gets his head over. Look how hard he's hit, and yet he still holds on to possession. Great ruck technique.
Joe Marler's covering play as well, Austin, in that last passage of play to get over to Ongera and make Ongera pass earlier than he wanted to. You can feel Marler coming, he has to give it, whereas he thought he'd got a 2-on-1 with Lowe. Marler was screaming to Lowe that he had got his man and he could afford to drift off, snuffing out the attack.
Danny Kerr is on to replace Dixon. Calls off the King's Home bench in the Heineken Cup back in November. Similar for him again. And this is Pete Buxton.
How are we doing, lads?
Buxton on for Savage, and Ryan Mills is coming on for Henry Trinder, who was hit in the move that led up to the latest breakdown and never really recovered. So despite the fact that he's had his head stitched with 8, he's not well enough to continue.
Can I grip the go, Dean? Thanks,
Ryan
mate.
Mills is on.
Inside 22, lads.
Will James, by the way, has come off.
Let's hit flat, square, and stay down
that,
there, right?
Buxton has replaced. There is James. Shirt only occupied by Jim Hamilton, but he'll be jumping for Scotland at Murrayfield tomorrow. So lots of changes.
Quins' alignment here, it's quite interesting as well. They've taken their blindside winger away and lined up everyone in the midfield. We saw them from the restart early on in the game really counter wide. As you can see there's nobody on the blindside channel. They've brought Williams into midfield, probably as a decoy. They could look to go wide here. Because they can't kick down the channel because they've got no one to chase it.
Crouch. Touch. Pause. Engage.
Nico's first job since replacing Dixon is to feed the scrum that will need resetting.
Louder in you. Follow this, bring it across.
Channeling his frustration, Danny Kerr these days at missing out on the Six Nations to very, very good effect. Tom Heathcote has knocked over a penalty for Bath at Sandy Park, so it's 6-3 now, and that's Carl Dixon, his 50th appearance today. Good day for the Dixon family, right up to the point that Wales scored that try.
Defensively, Gloucester want to keep this scrum straight. They don't want to wheel it either way. If they get the penalty, that's even better. Again, James Johnson for grabbing the arm and pulling it inwards and down.
Talked earlier over there about long bind on the body. He's going straight for the arm.
We said at half time, so
right. And you need another word with him to get him up there, and he's not doing it. I'll not have it all
I was
night.
watching the Super 15 this morning, and they were suggesting that maybe on each one of the props they should have a handle on their shirts.
Totally agree with that. Because there's got to be something to grip onto.
Yeah, or at least an area that has to be put in a different colour on the shirts where the hand has to be, you know, a zone of a certain area. It might be difficult on the Quinn shirt to put a different patch on, but just somewhere so the refs and the lines, the touch judges know, because it's occasionally a touch judge's got to look 50 metres to see a hand slip. It's a difficult situation.
I don't know, I'm not too bothered about the colour of the patch, but just something that they can grip onto.
Yeah.
Well, Conor O'Shea's not hanging around. He's going to make two changes in the front row. The props are both coming off. Marler and Johnston are about to be replaced by Lambert and Fairbrother. The extent of the deficit to which they arrive will be determined by the success or otherwise of this latest attempt from Freddie Burns. And for once, Burns erring. Again, it remains an 8-point gap.
Yep.
There's the muscular cavalry waiting to come on. Jordan Turner Hall.
Hands out! First man, 12, first man, not a problem. Leave it
Pulled down
down!
by Tyndall on his own 10-metre line. Harlequins commit bodies to that ruck that had formed. Skinner, I think, was the last one in, and
12 is legal, first man up to his feet can play the ball in any direction.
Harlequins will have the scrum back.
Nick Easter really sharp, sees that no one's marking him with ball in hand, so a little tap to himself. He's just got to let go. Perfect execution. Brown can't get there in time, but he's already drawn three defenders into him, which gives Vallejos one man to go around and pop up on the outside.
We don't see many quick 22s, but when they're done well, they're so effective. That element of surprise, I think, somewhat gone out of the game a little bit. You know, the quick, smart line-outs, the quick 22s, taking quick tap penalties. It's almost like, right, I've been told I've got to go for territory, I've got to go for distance. It takes a little bit of the instinct away from the game, I think, and Nick Easter showed why it works there.
Even a normal dropout taken quickly when you're waiting for Clive Woodward always used to have us when we were waiting for a penalty, ready to kick off straight away. So you put the pressure that should have been on you straight back on the opposition.
Players too afraid to make those kinds of decisions on their own now, Oz, do you think? Might lose their place if it goes wrong. It's a rough world, isn't it?
Certainly is. You've got to trust the players' instincts, otherwise they all become robots. Ben's doing the robot now. I have to say Peter Crouch is a lot better at it.
Crouch.
Quite happy for him to have that mantle.
Peter Buxton.
Touch.
Snuggles his cheeks up to this latest challenge. Hard work for him this season. We've already got another year on his contract, and the scrum continuing to be an area of real competition, and this will be Gloucester's ball.
Well, that's the first bad decision I think Dave Pearson's made all day. The ball was out the scrum. Easter had picked it up. He was making ground.
I don't think he had.
Love to see how it managed to spin round so quickly. I'm not sure Dave Pearson knows whether Wood ran it round from the outside. Here he is.
Otherwise, you know what
It's an
happens.
excellent position. No, he doesn't. He drives straight. And it's Harlequins that bail out of it and twist. Spot on decision.
This one is continuing to be an area of some concern for Harlequins. Gloucester's fed by Lewis.
Get it away.
And again, they're wheeling the Quins back row away from the area that they really want to be. Burns linking up neatly with Ryan Mills. Here goes Lewis again. And this is Matt Cox.
Leave it now.
Running the side again after featuring at the start of the season. Interesting to see Gloucester continuing to be linked with Ben Morgan. There's a question of how much they're prepared to pay for him. Now, break through the middle. Once again, terrific stuff from Burns. Held up by Chisholm. 7 metres out, in front of the posts. Opportunity knocks. Tyndall twists and turns. It's slowed down a little bit.
Gloucester had a 6-on-3 on the left-hand side, decided to come this right side. Harlequins had managed to get a really good defensive line in place.
Brooker was in there trying to disturb it as much as he could. Tyndall will launch them again through Burns. Flung out by Mills, and they have to score, and Akapusi and Guerra will. And you're tempted to think, with 3/4 of the match gone, that could be a decisive score.
Oh, Ryan Mills take a bow. Spotted George Lowe flying out the line and just steps in. This is the break from Burns. Chisholm does really well to hold him up, allow his defensive line to get back into place. But look at this. Step inside. Really good spatial awareness of how much time he had. Looking at the ball, the defender was closing from the outside, his blind side. Perfect execution, great pass to Nkira.
And for the statistically minded amongst you, that is Gloucester's 800th try in the Premiership. And one or two of you may well know that back in 1997, Philip Sant-Andre scored the first. Tough angle, and it would have been hard to be any closer, and Brian Redpath's face not giving too much away, but this could be an important score for Ngera.
Just a really good step, transfers the ball to his inside arm so he can fend off Lowe. And a great pass. And you're not going to stop the big Fijian from that distance. Brilliant by Ryan Mills.
The injury to Henry Trinder has given us a chance to have a good old look at Ryan Mills. He's only 19, but there are loads of enthusiastic murmurs around this place about him. And we get a decent view over the next 20 minutes or so. Tony Kerr
Offside, red 12.
releases his step. He
Offside.
ran forward initially, but then was shuttled back. Kerr again to Williams.
Advantage, Quins offside, red 5.
He discovered his form at the same time as he became a dad a couple of weeks ago. Evans flings it wide. Taken on by Jordan Turner-Hall.
Monia was screaming for the ball to be nudged through. A crossfield kick.
Red 12 offside.
Advantage, new one.
Mike Tyndall was offside.
New advantage, come on.
Harlequins will have the penalty. Have a free hit here. This is Ollie Cohen who takes it on for them.
Still got it, lads.
Kerr to Evans, kept his head up, all the while aware that George Lowe was offering himself.
Still advantage, offside for red.
Oh, driven on by Brooker. Kerr again, they're getting closer. Evans, oh, it was
offside for
read on that occasion by Matt Cox. He wasn't the one offside, but they will come back for the earlier penalty.
Yeah. 4.
Oh, hang on, it is not the earlier one, it's another one. He's just said offside 4. I didn't think 4 was still on the pitch.
Just giving that warning. That's what...
Yeah, no, Will James is gone.
He's got that wrong, but even so, it means that they had 3 offsides in that passage of play, and he hasn't even had a word with Gloucester's captain, who was guilty of one of them, Mike Tyndall.
Tom Heathcote's penalty, all square at Sandy Park. They kicked off at the same time as us into the final quarter there. Big moment for Harlequins if they're to resuscitate themselves here, and it's taken on by Lambert. Really taken on by Lambert. They're that close. Easter sorting out where he wants Cohen to be, but the skipper taking it upon himself, and Akapusi and Guerra trying to rip it out of Easter's hands. That's a real battle of might, and Guerra's won it. Good work, still some work to do. Not again, surely. This is Burns. Chips up for Sharples. Sharples against Chisholm. Williams is there as well. A clash of the speedsters, and Williams was the closest. Now he might go. Oh, we've seen some fabulous rugby here this evening from both sides. Evans now to Lowe, goes beyond Chisholm, picks out Skinner instead, who, in trying to find Chisholm, only found May. And we know what that might mean. Still going. Simpson, Daniel, what about that? Back to May. It is circus stuff at the moment. Fred Carno comes to Kingsholm. And again, this is Burns. This is outstanding. And this is rugby at its very best. And then Burns tried to spin it out the back of the hand, and it didn't have the distance to find Sharples. Tyndall goes back. Guests there to make the tackle. Who's going to win it next? And who's going to have the next opportunity to entertain us under the Kingsholm big top?
Oh, breath back. What a passage of play. 2 breaks by Freddie Burns.
We've had jugglers, high wire performers, and 3 clowns up here in the commentary box. We've had it all. Lewis, Sharples chases. Williams was clattered by Buxton. Here goes Chisholm. Skinner to Lowe. He's got Evans outside. I can imagine that there are 1 or 2 of you out there who've been watching rugby all day and promised your partner a night on the town. We'll go before the end of this match, he said. I suspect you're not going at the moment. This is crackling then.
Oh, it's David Duke who turned it over.
Simpson, Daniel, to me! Where's he going? And the ball, I think, should go forward. Was he in touch? Either way, it's being brought back. Austin, make sense of this for us.
Well, it's just sensational. You mentioned the word circus, and there's a time and a place. If we have a little look, let's just watch this break. It is a sensational break from nowhere. He goes through, he'd been doing it 2 or 3 times, and then he thinks about it, thinks about the long ball. We stop it there. Just look at him. There's no need at all to throw that ball. That is overdoing the circus play. He could have thrown a long floated left-handed pass straight into the hands of Sharples, who would have walked in. But it's so exciting, isn't it?
I don't think he trusted his left hand. He's thrown that out of his right.
Trust me, Ben, it's a lot easier to throw a left-hand spin pass than it is to reverse it out the back of your hand on your right.
You get more power off the right, out of the back of the right. So I think that's why he's throwing it. Really risky, though.
I think he was thinking of Premiership clips at the end of the season that he would have been on, and he's over-circused it. But it was a sensational break, and it was about the 3rd on the trot that he'd made.
Would have been a good one for those big posh dinners in London, though, wouldn't it? That's Luke Wallace who's coming on.
Time on.
We saw Ollie Cohen making his way. Pete Brown has replaced him. Hopper's not far away from making his appearance as well. This is the kind of game he'd love, and a game we all love. Line out one by Vallejos.
Stay safe, let's go last one.
Of the Brown-Cohen interchange. Easter.
Hands away now!
Keen to get the ball away as quickly as he can. This is Brown. Squirrels the ball backwards.
No hands!
Savage, I think it is, or is it Buxton?
Buxton doing a really good job, just keeping his feet pumping through the contact.
Here goes Wallace, who is speedy. But how much work has Mike Tyndall put in at inside centre today?
The thing is, it's been a really open game, but both sides competing so hard at the breakdown. Tyndall there.
Turner Hall almost through the hole. Brown continued the momentum. Kerr to Evans to Monya. Oh dear me, he's just walloped Tyndall out of the way.
Away now!
Gloucester have just passed the century mark for tackles.
No.
Now up to 101.
Stick.
Evans, Wallace. Held up again by Buxton.
No hands!
Oh, Kerr thought he was impeded there. He looked imploringly towards Dave Pearson, who was not ready to be sympathetic. Now Brooker, the hooker, is trying to chip over the top of the defence. Only finds Johnny May. Here's Darren Davijuk, the Gloucester hooker.
Hands off!
You would have been intrigued to see Huia Edmonds confirmed as an arrival next season from Australia, the Wallaby hooker. As well that
Feet all over
Scott
that.
Lawson is on his way to London Irish next campaign, but it's an opportunity for us all to draw breath.
Legs all over that, slowing that down.
Perhaps wonder when the last time we saw such an entertaining game of rugby was. Let's hope for more of the same over the next week or so. We're at Kingston Park next Friday. Harlequins will take their circus bus to the northeast, and then Vicarage Road on Sunday for Saracens against Northampton. At this rate, though, the top two in the Aviva Premiership are both on the road to defeat this weekend. Austin.
I just want to look back at Freddie Burns again from a different angle and watch how confident he is. Look at this situation. He's got a matchup of two big forwards, but he doesn't take them on. He makes them think he's going to go wide to make the inside defender move, and then creates a hole from nothing. You look at the numbers there. As a 10, that takes enormous confidence and pace to go through that channel. He created it just by moving his head to the outside. As a running 10, he's on a par with Nick Evans today. It's tough to think of another English guy that can do that. I know Owen Farrell was very good today. Can't be long before this guy's involved in the squad, can it?
You can only pick 22, though. That's the problem. You can only start with 15. So many good young players coming through. Still, Parity at Sandy Park. Rupert Harden's been replaced by Sean Knight. Talking of young English players set to make an impression over the next few years. Knight's another one of them.
Knock on blue in the
No, play
line.
on, I'm happy with that. Play on.
Good overall by Pearson. Vale's doing really well to turn the tide on Brown.
Low to Wallace. This is Chisholm. He did well to evade again the challenge of Tyndall. James Simpson-Daniel is hanging back just in case the kick comes through. Turner Hall finds it long to Mark Lambert, and Lambert has been robbed.
Keep going, Prince!
It's a little mugging on the Kingsholm Road as darkness falls in Gloucester, but Harlequins weren't made to pay for it. Matt Cox and Buxton get ruefully to their feet. Every team needs a bucker.
Who's 13?
That's what Brian Redpath said this week. Big contract, another year's contract for the old Warrior.
13 replacement.
And,
Particularly when you've got so much young talent coming through who want to play this running rugby.
Holding on.
They need in training to be taught the dark arts of clearing out rucks and mauls as well, to allow them to play at that pace, have the ball to play at that pace.
George Lowe makes way for Matt Hopper. And Harlequins can do nothing with that penalty. Johnny May, he's done lots of good things this evening. That kick wasn't necessarily one of them, but Simpson-Daniel very nearly turned it into a decent one. Here goes Chisholm again. He's constantly looking for the options, as is Hopper. Marked his debut here in Europe back in November with a try.
Tyndall
from the blind side guard position, sacking Hugo Monya as he drifted across the field.
Here goes Simpson-Daniel. Lewis.
Monya's struggling with cramp here. This could be interesting. It's a little bit long.
Got to test himself. He's really got to test himself. Oh, dear me. And Monya's already snaffled by Sharples. And he has done so well to turn that ball round and make sure it's on the right side.
As did Chisholm supporting him, latching onto him, driving him back over the try line in the right direction.
Approaching the final 10 minutes. Harlequins know another score conceded now would be curtains.
Nick Easter's looking for a little snidey chip here. Oh, I didn't get it. He realised that there was no sweeper in place. He came in, whispered to Danny Kerr. But Quins are almost imploding. They're putting so much pressure on themselves in their own 22. It's a good kick, but as Ben said, Monya's struggling with a bit of cramp, but he shows experience and just sheer strength. He does remarkably well to get back to his feet here. That's power.
Dowager finds Buxton.
A change of focus back to the forwards. Really good setup of the drive. Shift drive again. Balls at the back. It's going to be very difficult for Harlequins to stop that legally. Kira's just got lifted at the front. Needs to keep lower.
So Pete Brown with the red scrum cap on.
He's done well to come through the middle. Gloucester trying to reset.
Ball finally taken to ground. Gloucester need to give it a little bit more air now. Forwards don't look too keen to overdo the air thing though. Again, Buxton showing us a little bit more than he might want to, but there's another purposeful break. Lewis spins it to the blind side and then almost went on his own, but it was well read by Tim Fairbrother.
He ran away from his support.
Isolated player.
There's a bit of a shot
Isolated.
to glory or nothing.
When he was first man
Well
down, he was
read by
leading.
the Harlequins defence, but just meant there were no red and white shirts to clear him out.
What was your ball?
Normally big for statistics, but here's one for you, Ben. Tackles made. Gloucester 110, Harlequins 40. Interesting. Austin.
Well, just showing some of those tackles, one of the man who's making all of them, Mike Tyndall. His work rate is tireless. He comes round the blind side, Ben mentioned it, but he stops what is a great attacking position. And I've been a little bit critical of him in terms of attack tonight, but, I mean, I can't think of another centre that has worked so hard and gives you so much in the sort of their forward dark arts.
Contract runs out at the end of the season. Looks like Billy Twelvetrees will be a fixture in Gloucester's midfield next year. It'll be interesting to see if Tyndall is still part of the fixtures and fittings here.
That's a balancing act, isn't it? You need some workhorses when you've got a load of show ponies outside you.
Off it one!
Hopper.
Offside, red 12.
Damage.
Tyndall was offside in his eagerness to get forward again
Offside.
on that occasion.
Red 12, 5.
Danny Kerr
Played on.
runs away from Buxton and Lewis.
Away!
Put Brown in a little bit of a spot, but the Irishman did well to resuscitate the ball. Chisholm to Hopper to Evans. They've got one or two numbers out here, but Easter dropped it backwards. No one seems to want it. And as Monya tried to dive down on, Cox hacked it into touch.
I don't know how there wasn't a knock on in there. It's about 6 to me.
And there's one. That's accidental offside 2. There's 3.
Let's not get too picky, eh?
Easy to miss. It's been a great game. I'm not bothered.
West won a good game with penalties.
I think Dave Pearson should be allowed to ref all the games that we do.
We're back on.
Watch on.
Kapusi Ngera has played a full part. He's just been replaced by Brett Deacon. And the longer this match goes on and the more decisions like that go against Harlequins, the more you think this is Gloucester's evening.
I've seen worse ones not given. Look at there, just saying, you're ruining my stats, ref.
It's Pete Brown, for just his second Premiership appearance of the season. We Actually saw his only other sortie off the bench at Sandy Park on New Year's Eve.
Touch. Pause. Engage.
Shot of
Ball's
Sean
out.
Knight on this Gloucester tight head side. The ball is out. Tyndall once again out with his Hoover. And then he's driven into the kitchen.
The ball.
They might have lost it, however, and they
The ball.
have.
Doesn't have to move. Many
What's
more
the
lads.
gossip?
Didn't have
Do
to
you
move.
know him? Is he staying or going? Put you on the spot.
Well, if I was Brian Redpath, I'd keep him. Like I said, it gives you good balance in the back line, especially if Fumayana Sapolu's going. You can't have Burns, May, Trinder without having someone that, when it's wet and it's horrible, he carts it up and he hits people and he tackles them and he hits a load of rucks. But we'll have to wait and see. Seems to be a lot of people on the move, either to or fro from Gloucester.
Crouch.
Ben's mouthing Biarritz, which isn't much of a help when you're not using the microphone.
I think he was saying get the beers in.
Oh,
Nick.
right, okay.
Step left.
That was one of the two.
There's also step left. To, well, 6 of us were head on head.
It's like that, is it, Nick?
So you don't.
Right, okay.
You got
So
that gap.
much speculation swirling around so many players at the moment.
Touch.
I
Pause.
thought that if
Engage.
cash can be found, then Gloucester would be keen to keep him. Not much wrong with Gloucester's pack at the moment. They've got possession back and they're looking for another score with Tyndall. Oh dear. For once, James Simpson-Daniel losing control, and
Hands went
Deacon
forward.
drives on, but by that point the damage had been done.
They just tried to second-guess Tyndall's line.
Yeah.
If it had come off, it was a guaranteed score.
Watch the line Simpson-Daniel picks. Look, he starts wide, outside his winger, comes in. He puts Williams in no man's land. Had that gone to hand, almost impossible to defend against.
I think Tyndall slowed down as he thought, oh, this is another Sinbad show and goes.
Time back on.
It carried on at full tilt, he might just have got that.
Dan Murphy preparing himself, as is Mateus Cortez, the Argentinian hooker. And the show enjoyed this one. Here early to watch England on the big screen.
Crouch.
They've had a full-on day of rugby, which in their world is the best kind of day you can have.
Pause. Engage.
Particularly when they think the pack's on top.
Stepped
However,
off.
on that occasion, Dave Pearson saying that it was the Gloucester pack who was stepping round.
Keep pushing straight.
Be interested to see if Quins go to their 100% call here, their go-to play, which they normally have round about the halfway in the line out. Off the top, hit up in the midfield, forwards round the corner twice, and then go back down the short side with all their back line. It's a play you often see them use when they want to get back into the game.
There were the changes that were signalled in the front row. By the way, Tom Heathcote has scored what might be a very important penalty for Bath. They're not yet out of the relegation woods at the bottom. But if they can win at the Chiefs...
You've stepped in, step back.
They kicked off at the same time as we did here at Kingsholm. Evans, as Easter drives Quins forward, looking for at least a losing bonus point now, which surely is it's going to go again. Ball was forward to Wallace.
It was tight. It looked a lot worse because Wallace reached behind him to gather it. It's tight to being flat. Really good line. Just Kerr. He was slightly forward, I think. Kerr just a little bit slow to see Wallace.
Incredible take.
There it is, lads.
Well, what are we to make of this? It now looks very much as if the top two in the Aviva Premiership this weekend are going to lose. Is it simply down to the fact that they're missing players from the Six Nations?
I think it is. Take nothing away from Gloucester. I don't think many teams would have beaten Gloucester tonight. If any form they've been in. Credit to Harlequins for the way they've kept attacking.
Simpson-Daniel keeps attacking. Evans just made the tackle. Wallace was there again trying to slow things down, and then the ball came off the shoulder of Matt Cox.
You said it there, Ben. I think most sides would have struggled against Gloucester tonight, and as this pitch firms up here, if Simpson, Daniel, May, Sharples, Burns can stay fit for the rest of the season, they're going to be incredibly hard to beat.
The most important thing for Gloucester is that their pack play like this, week in, week out, because they've taken Harlequins apart up front, which has allowed the exciting backline to flourish. And if they do that for the rest of the season, they're going to be a tough nut to crack.
One of the old men of the game replaces somebody who's not quite so old. Tom Voight is on for James Simpson, Daniel, who has entertained us royally this evening. The man who's got it all going. Gloucester, with the 4-point win, will move up to 5th place. If they could get one more score and get the bonus point try, then they will be ahead of Northampton and into 4th and into the playoff zone. Northampton at London Irish tomorrow. Gloucester have got a trip to Leicester next weekend. They've got away games at Wasps and Irish. Here at Kingsholm, Exeter, Newcastle and Sale. There are points to be won there. Here goes Hopper, though, as Harlequins go in search of a bonus point themselves, and they might get one with Chisholm. A match that has been brimming with top-drawer entertainment.
What a try!
What a score that is! We might just have had two of the best tries of the season in 80 minutes of top-quality entertainment at Kingsholm.
The pace through the middle third of the field from Chisholm. Unbelievable. Just cuts the line.
Hands
Voice
off
drifts a
single.
bit quickly.
Then it's a foot race.
You got half a metre if you want it.
Brilliant finish. I
Never
tell you
half a
what,
metre if
pick
you
out
want it.
between those two.
He scored some tries this season. You
Last
might
kick.
remember a 90-metre effort against Cardiff not so long ago. He doesn't do the ordinary, Ross Chisholm. What a game we've had.
He just turned on the burners. You don't burn Sharples and Johnny May. You just don't do it, especially when you've already run 60.
Couple of tries in the match for him. And it would be the perfect finish for Nick Evans if this goes over, because it'll take him past 1,000 points for the club. More importantly, it's for the losing bonus point, and he's got it. 1,000 points, but those last two are critical, because Harlequins have got some reward for all of their hard work. But goodness me, if we have seen a better game so far this season, then I'm not sure I can remember it. That was outstanding from start to finish, and we've seen some scores that will live long, long in the memory.
Absolutely, and what a way to lift the gloom on England losing at Twickenham. Brilliant individual performance all round. Both packs took each other on. I think both sides got what they deserved out of the game. Harlequins, you can never write them off. As we saw then, they can score from anywhere. People like Sharples can do damage. That was a great advert for the Aviva Premiership.
Yeah, and such credit goes both sides. The ability to attack, even when pressure came on for either side, the ability to and the want to attack for the rest of the game. Amazing, amazing night.
And every single player took a full part in what was just an outstanding 80 minutes, and how great to see the England compadres, Kerr and Tyndall, coming together at the end. So let's wrap up what we've seen in the Aviva Premiership so far this weekend. Important win for Sale. Wasps still can't win. Big win for the Warriors. What a night that was at Sixways. Newcastle struggling at Welford Road today. Bath have snatched it at Sandy Park, and confirmation of what we've just seen here at Kingsholm. Irish against Saints will finish it off tomorrow in Reading. So what's it mean at the top of the table? Gloucester now right up there in it, and Quins might be grateful for that losing bonus point come the end of the season. They're not far away from guaranteeing a home side, but they're as good in the playoffs as you can get. And we can go down to Sarah, who's with Mike Tim.
Well, Mike, you would do a performance against Quins, and boy, did you give it. How delighted are you with not just the win, but the way in which you won it?
Yeah, it's great. I'm a little bit disappointed about the last 30 seconds, but yeah, the way the boys play, and you know, fair play to sort of Sinbad and Johnny May. They can do that dummy that Sinbad threw for the first try, and then Johnny May's just his footwork and stuff. It's easy when you got boys like that running around.
And I guess with the grounds firming up as well, with your back line, you're going to be pretty difficult to beat.
Well, hopefully, we normally sort of build a run towards the end of the season. We hope we can do the same. You know, we've kept it pretty simple. We've put a four-game window down as a marker. You know, we've come off with 3 wins so far. You know, we've just got to go to Leicester and attack them as well. But you know, the pack were outstanding today. Scrum was strong, and we took opportunities when we had them.
How close was that to a complete performance?
It's getting there. I think we're getting better as the confidence grows a little bit. We've had some great games like Toulouse, but then we've had some, Quins here in the Heineken Cup. We had loads of possession, but we couldn't score, and we just need to find that consistency in performance. And you know, we work hard all week, and it's starting to pay off. And as long as we keep our feet on the ground and keep working hard and keep playing for the great fans that we've got, I think we'll do all right.
Congratulations on a fantastic win this evening. A quick reaction maybe to the England game. Did you see it?
No, I obviously saw the first half. But I just didn't. You don't really pay attention properly when you're watching it. But I think they ended up losing in the last minute. But I'll watch the game and I'll have a look and see what it is.
That's fine. Fantastic win today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It was Tyndall and Nick East, the 2 England Warriors, who played a full part. Freddie Burns played his. Maybe one day his England time will come. Now, if you enjoyed that, then hope you can be with us next weekend. It starts on Friday night in the northeast and finishes on Sunday evening just north of London. Saracens against Northampton. Harlequins and Saracens, the Aviva Premiership League leaders, both beaten this weekend. Sarries at Sixways, Quins at Kingsholm, and it's a big win.